Welcome back, MTGJoe here. Today we are looking at the best decks you can take to the Timeless Metagame Challenge this weekend. So the new Spider-Man set came out. I don't think it's going to have a huge impact. Maybe some cards here or there. It's still a little early with the set, so these Eternal formats, we don't get huge amounts of data. So I'm going to stitch together kind of the last week what we have. There's only 3,400 games played from Platinum to Mythic with the data from like the last 2 weeks to give you kind of a spread of what is being played in Timeless. So usually we do it in like descending order of win rates, but you'll notice like the win rates kind of go down and then up again and then down again just when we look at the different periods. So I'll call that out when we get to it, but these are all decks that are reasonable in terms of ladder play, stuff like that. And yeah, biggest thing is like Strip Mine, kind of re-influence certain meta decks, stuff of that nature. Greedier mana bases, multiple colors can get punished a bit. So Strip Mine is here to take place. So first deck up, Mono Red Blood Moon, Mono Red Stompy. So here, this deck is leveraging 2 of the new lands. Ancient Tomb helps you get ahead on mana, as well as Strip Mine blows up lands. In Legacy, this deck's usually referred to as Moon Stompy. You have City of Traders as another multi-source land. But this deck here, ideally with Ancient Tomb and like Chrome Mox, you can turn 1 Blood Moon or Magus to shut off their decks. You can Fable on 1. New card is Broadside Bombardiers from the Anthology. So powerful effect, 3 mana, 2/2, Menace Haste. And then Boast, so when you attack, you can sacrifice another creature or artifact. It deals damage equal to 2 plus the mana value of that card. So throws a bunch of damage. Your Pyrogoyf deals damage when it comes to play, or other Goyfs, plays really nicely with Fable. I've been playing Jund Goyfs in Historic, and you just copy this with Fable and deals like huge chunks of damage to your opponent out of nowhere. You're somewhat of a prison deck with like the Blood Moon effects as well as Chalice to lock your opponent out of stuff. Ragavan helps you ramp to like a turn 2 play as well. Fury blows up stuff, and that's pretty much the core of the deck. One ring for the Grandier matchups. You have Leyline, so you can kind of mix and match. You can have the rings main the Blood Moon side, depending on how you want to attack. Leyline for graveyard decks. You have Brotherhood's End as a sweeper. Bone Crusher Giant can break the ring, just some burn, some cheap removal against like energy, stuff like that. Vortex against Show and Tell. Against even some of the Necro decks can be okay. You could shut off life gain, limit what they can do. Disruptor Flute, activated abilities or just hate, and then Lithomantic Barrage. Reasonable against like Frog, like Psychic Frog, the blue base decks that have counter spells. You can kind of hit them there. Also hits most of the creatures that you care about from the energy deck. So Boros Energy, this one's an interesting take. So the stock energy list that we've seen before, and you can find them on my Aether Hub, they're probably still reasonable. There hasn't been like huge amounts of data to kind of extrapolate on that, but this one here, it's an interesting take. So we have almost like a Stompy version. Ancient Tomb in here. We have the Broadside Bombardiers, as well as Gut True Soul Zealot. Say that 10 times. 3 mana, 2/2, banned in Historic somehow. So whenever you attack, you sacrifice another creature or an artifact. If you do, you create a 4/1 skeleton that's with Menace that's tapped and attacking. So you can upgrade your voice tokens. You can flip a Johnny with it. You'll see an Ancient Den in the mana base as a way to sack. So just another way to kind of go from there. Otherwise, you're kind of your energy pile. No Amped Raptor since you have quite a few higher drops here, so less consistent in terms of hitting that. One ring refills your hand. It's also something you could sack to either of these to kind of reset once you get too many counters. Arcan for like Show and Tell, lots of greedy mana bases, things playing multiple spells per turn. Knights Peacekeeper's tax effect. Exercise, flexible removal. Flute, activated abilities, tax effect, and then Ghost Vacuum for graveyard hate. And then you got the Elk as your companion. Omnitell, so this deck here, Show and Tell. So Show and Tell, you put into play Omniscience, and you can kind of play a bunch of free spells. This version here does not have a necessary go to your sideboard, win the game right away, but you effectively win. You basically will dig through your deck, get Hullbreaker Horror out, and then you can just have permission to bounce whatever they do. You can also cast Emrakul for free, take an extra turn, or just Show and Tell into play an Emrakul. When you show and tell it, it comes into play. You don't get the extra turn, but against some decks, a 15/15 Annihilator 6 is a pretty good card. Your Traxa, another card you could kind of cheat into play. Rest of the deck's just kind of setting you up. Ponder's a new card added to the deck for consistency along with Brainstorm. And with Ancient Tomb, you could turn 1 show and tell with a Mox in this deck here. Commandeer, you can take over your opponent's counter spells. They're big stuff. Culling Ritual for the energy deck. Opposition Agent is a new card that came in through the Omen Paths. Basically, when your opponent searches their library, you basically take control of their search, so you can fail fine with fetches and stuff like that. Corrosive Grip for the mirror. Corrupt Decay deals with many of the hate pieces. Fail Summer for counters, or just like discard. And then Carpet of Flowers for the blue-based mirrors just gives you a whole bunch of mana, so you can just hard cast your stuff. Golgari Midrange, so 59%. So these are basically strip mine focus decks. The one card that gets played in this, or the Jund deck that's very strong, is Wary Zone Guard. So it's an alchemy card. It's 3 mana, 3/3, enters tapped as survival. So once you go to your second main phase, you get to return up to 1 land from your graveyard to the battlefield, and then this card perpetually gets bigger 1 each time. So you can just bring back strip mine every turn, basically, with this card here. You're otherwise pretty much mono black in this build. You have Dark Ritual, Sheoldred, Grief, One Ring, Troll can be reanimated. You have Deathrite Shaman taking advantage of green stuff, so heavier black build of this version. Culling Ritual for like energy, low to the ground decks, Deluge is another sweeper, Bowmaster for the heavy draw go style decks, Flute for tax activated abilities, Thoughtseize for some hand hate. Dimir Tempo, 55%, so this is more of your tempo control deck. Tamiyo in here, very easy to flip a Brainstorm. I was describing this at Legacy last night, and it was just like Tamiyo's the most innocuous but like most threatening win condition. It's just they win, you ultimate it. My opponent ultimated against me last night, and it's just like, well, I don't die right away, but you're playing blue-black tempo in Legacy, and you have like 25 cards in your hand, so I'm never going to resolve anything for the rest of the game. Hydroponics and Architect's a alchemy card in here, so when it attacks a random land in your library, perpetually becomes a basic, and gains when this land enters, you draw a card. So this can randomly imprint a fetch land, so you can fetch for that fetch. It can do, this one's not playing strip mine, but you'll sometimes see strip mine in that case. You have your frogs, and then just tempo arguments. Flare of Denial can sack your blue stuff to give you kind of pseudo free counters. Works nice with the hydroponics, for example. Treasure Cruise refills your hand. Commandeer, like we mentioned. Deluge is a sweeper. Filigree can deal with tokens. Just hard to deal with stuff out of blue-black, so against like energy, bombardment, stuff like that. Flutes, Bitter Triumph, catch-all removal. Thoughtseize is hand hate. Surgical for combo, graveyard hate, and Stern Scolding for the low-to-the-ground creature decks. Some of these decks in Legacy are playing a couple copies of Kaido, so that's something you might want to consider as well. So Jund Luris, this one's an interesting one. So this one here, with Luris, you're not playing the 3-drops. There is Strip Mine with Ren and 6 that can keep bringing you back the Strip Mine. This here, interesting, no DRC in this version. That would be one that I would probably play, but Nethergoyf, just a bunch of discard, interaction, fear of missing out. Works nice with like your Goyfs just for extra combats. Very interactive, kind of Delirium-esque deck, filling your graveyard, killing them on lands, 2 for 1, kind of Zoomer Jund style effect. With Luris, you can bring back Force of Vigor, strong against like Show and Tell, blows up artifacts, enchantments. Corrupt Decay, kind of catch-all removal for the small stuff. Vexing Bauble can shut off the Evoke cards, or Show and Tell off Omni. Veil of Summer, protection against counters. Thoughtseize for more hand hate. Surgical Graveyard combo hate. Pithing Needle for activated abilities. Meltdown for affinity or artifact heavy decks. Fatal Push as cheap removal. Gruul Eldrazi, 61%. So this one here is using the Strip Mine and the Ancient Tomb, as well as Eldrazi Temple. So many ways to make multiple lands in this deck. You have Once Upon a Time to help set up your draw, and then you are going to find lands with Sowing Mycospawn. Fleshraker makes you a bunch of Eldrazi tokens when you cast colorless stuff, so it kind of keeps it going, and then pings. You have Eldrazi Linebreaker that can push through a bunch of damage. Hit that Herald is a lord for your like random Eldrazi spawns. So like a big Kha'Zix command, the ones you make off Fleshraker all become 1/2s, so they can attack in. And then your top end, like Sire of Seven Deaths, can get cost reduction through the various multi-lands, as well as that Herald's Thought-Knot Seers is kind of like a hand hate effect. Gemstone Caverns just lets you kind of get ahead on the play. You can swap some lands around. That way you get a free land into play. Ugin for, I'm assuming, the grindier matchups, lets you play colorless stuff on the top of your library. Flute, Hate Piece, Fire Magic for the go wide decks, and then Chalice to lock out your opponent's like Lurrus piles, stuff like that. Izzet Affinity? So this deck here, we have Mox Opal. So this allows you to make free mana. This one's an interesting one. We're seeing it more on the Affinity line, but not playing either Tamiyo or the 3-drop that gets cost reduction that plays artifacts. It's gonna bother me, but skipping my brain. This one here is basically looking to just kind of turbo out a Kappa Cannoneer. You have Thoughtcast and Thought Monitor to both refill your hand. Frogmite's kind of free to play. You can warp the Pinnacle Emissary, and then you have 16-0 mana cards to basically make you a bunch of tokens. So kind of go from there. Grey Furnace, Seed of Synod, Darksteel Citadel as artifact lands. Metallic Rebuke is a cheap counter. Dismember is removal. Blood Moon as mana base hate. Shadow Spear for more lifelink effects. You have one in the main. Needle for activated abilities. Galvanic as a sweeper, and the Festivities sweeper for your opponent's side for the low to the ground stuff. And Sign for like colorless mirrors, artifact mirrors, stuff like that. Rakdos Burn, so probably an easier one to play if you're newer to the format, just in terms of wildcard investments. So it's a Lurrus pile, just burn, baby. So you Static Discharge, Skull Crack, Skewer, all is burn, Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, just more burn to the face, Bolt Wave. So how many ways can you pay 1 mana to deal 3 damage? Swift Spears, Deathrite can be some additional reach, and then a copy of Ragavan. Sideboard, Smash Smithereens deals with artifacts. Whirling Vortex for the control-ish or combo decks. Pyroclasm is a sweeper for go-by decks. Eidolon, any deck with like low mana, you can kind of burn them out that way. Surgical for graveyard combo hate. And then lastly, Sneak and Show. So this deck here, 63%. So you have Show and Tell to put into play a fatty, like we mentioned. So Traxas, Emeralds, Ulamogs, whatever it may be. You also have Sneak Attack, which you can put a card into from your hand into play, and then it gets haste to sacrifice at the beginning of your next end step. So a bunch of ways to do that. You have Gamble that can help you find the pieces. Show and Tell, Stock Up, Thundertrap Trainer, Brainstorm, a bunch of ways to kind of find that. And then just Dual Lens, Gemstone to kind of get ahead. Sweeper and Brotherhood's End, Blood Moon for greedy mana bases, Unlicensed Hearse, Graveyard Hate, Flute for combo activated abilities. For example, in this matchup, if you're playing against your opponent, you can name their Sneak Attack. Braid just deals with hate pieces or creature removal. Vexing Bubble for things casting 0 mana. Veil for protection for counter spells. You have 1 breeding pool on the mana base. And then Fire Magic for the go wide decks. That's it for the week. Good luck those playing. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.